Welcome back to the show. The mother of the teenage victim of the Titanic submersible disaster has told of her heartbreak after she gave up her own seat on board for her son. Suleman Dawood has spoken out for the first time since the Titanic 5 was sadly confirmed dead on Friday after having been missing, as you know, for 5 long days. She said her son Suleman took a Rubik's Cube with him to try to break a world record.
Suleman did not go anywhere without his Rubik's Cube. He said, I'm gonna solve the Rubik's Cube at 3,700 meters below ground, below sea at the Titanic. And he was so excited about this.
What were your last moments or words that you shared with your husband and son? Do you remember that?
Well, we just hugged and joked, actually, because Shahzada was so excited to go down. He was like a little child.
Gosh, that seems awfully soon after the event to be interviewing that lady. My goodness me. Joining me in the studio now is talkTV correspondent Oliver Whitfield-Miocic. It seems very, very soon after this shock and this bereavement to ask a woman who's lost her son and her father and her husband, you know, what were your last words and everything, doesn't it?
Well, sometimes, you know, when you do these interviews, some families take solace in being able to talk about their loved ones. Some say no. And, you know, as journalists, we've all had to have done that before, where you've got to go to victims' families. It's a horrible thing to have to do, but that interview was so powerful. The things that were said in it. I think one of the most powerful things that we heard there was that she gave up her seat so that her son, who was so excited, because originally they were meant to go before COVID, he wasn't 18 at that time. He was told by the company that he wasn't allowed on board. When it got delayed till after COVID, he was then 19, he was able to go, but just the guilt, the feelings you must think of, should I have got...
Well, you think you're giving your boy the experience of a lifetime. You think you're bestowing on him a £250,000 gift of the most amazing thing that he will talk about for the rest of his life, that will be a sort of enlivening, incredible experience that he will never forget. And you think you're making this incredible gesture in foregoing your place to give him your place. I can't think of a single mother on earth who wouldn't do that. It's exactly the kind of thing that if I were ever in that position, I'd want. I think, well, let my girls go. You know, they will appreciate it more. You know, I will appreciate their appreciating it. That's what mothers do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And fathers to some extent, but mothers always do that kind of thing. Although I would never say that on television, obviously. but you could see you're making this gesture to bring your boy happiness and joy and you know, all the things that you would want to give a child. Who knew that in doing that, you were effectively being part of the thing that was going to lead to his death? I mean, it's unbearable, isn't it?
And what's also unbearable is that she was waiting on board the vessel.
Oh.
So they were on board with her daughter. The news came back that they had lost comms. So that was the first that they'd heard of it. Christine says she was reassured by the staff. This was something that wasn't that unusual. There were so many things that they could do on board this vessel. They could drop weights and it would float back to the top. And so for 10 hours they waited, and she wasn't that concerned because she'd been told by the crew, well, you know, it'll gently just bob to the top. And so they looked out at the surface. And then talking of the agonising wait, where for 96 hours, she'd retained hope. But as she'd heard from the experts, that was the limit of the oxygen supply that was on. And then at that point, she came to the realisation that she was probably never going to see her son or her husband again.
Oh, my God. It's terrible. It doesn't even bear thinking of. And that tiny detail of the Rubik's Cube makes it so human and personal. He thought that he would, what, solve it down below and be the lowest person under the sea to do such a thing? Was that his plan?
He wanted to win a Guinness World Record for it. The certifiers came back and said, we can't do that because you need to have an independent adjudicator with you to verify it. But she said they were going to film it anyways and send it off. And he would have known that he'd done it. And he loved the Titanic. He'd done a 10,000-piece Lego set when he was younger. So, you know, something that they were so passionate about. His father, Shahzada, a huge adventurer, explorer, somebody who'd given tons of money through different charities, one of the biggest businessmen. although he was British, he was born in Pakistan and had a huge business empire over there. And so, you know, just listening to that human impact it's heartbreaking. At the same time, this investigation in trying to find out what is going on is continuing. And it's not just one investigation, there's 3 investigations. It's going on. It's going to take so long to try to get the bottom of this.
This is awful. This is one of the saddest interviews ever.